What's up, boopers, and welcome to my Stockades guide to supplement my 1 to 60 Alliance leveling guide. You should be running this dungeon between the levels 24 to 30, and you ideally want to be at least 28 to be able to do the quests that come up after the dungeon, which we will cover as well, given that the dungeon itself is fairly simple. Because the dungeon doesn't offer anything in the way of loot, the only real reason you should run it is to complete the quests in the dungeon. There are 6 quests in total, and if you are following my leveling guide, you'll only have access to 5, but we'll talk about how to get the 6th just in case you want to do it. The first quest, What Comes Around, comes from an NPC outside the Lakeshire Inn, and is shareable. The second quest comes from Duskwood inside the Town Hall, Crime and Punishment, and is also shareable. The next 3 quests are from Stormwind. You can get the Color of Blood from an NPC that roams around Stormwind. You usually find her around Old Town. She's a little bit of a pain in the ass to find sometimes. Ideally, try to look for her while you're filling out your Stockades group, and this quest can be shared if someone else in your group has it. The next 2, Quell the Uprising, is from directly outside the dungeon, and the quest, the Stockade Riots, should be available to you there as well if you followed the leveling guide. The Stockade Riots is a quest that starts from a letter drop from Van Cleef, the last boss in the Deadmines dungeon. This quest is arguably the most important reason for running the Stockades, as it gives a massive experience boost and the only significant item reward from the dungeon. So if you aren't able to grab this quest from running Deadmines prior, you may consider skipping Stockades altogether. A group of 1 tank, be it a prop paladin, feral druid, or prop warrior tank, and then a paladin, druid, or priest healer, and any 3 DPS are enough to handle the dungeon. So let's get started with the run, as the dungeon itself is fairly simple, but we do need 3 silk for the quest that follows the Stockades, so make sure as you loot the mobs in here for the Color of Blood to get the wool bandanas, make sure you also hold on to at least 3 pieces of silk cloth. The moment you zone in, you'll be at the top of the staircase and at the bottom half of a T-shaped dungeon. When you get to the base of the stairs, you'll start getting aggro immediately and all through the next hall. In the first hall, up to the T-junction, we need to try and kill all 10 of the prisoners required for the quest Quell the Uprising. This will usually mean you need to clear into all of the prison cells that line the main hall here. Firstly, be aware of the levels of your party members. You should be 28 if you've been following my leveling guide, but lower level players will easily aggro the prison cells on either side of the hallway if they run forward, so be sure to warn them to stay back and let you pull. You should try to pull all the prisoners possible until you get the 10 you need to complete the quest. At the same time, keep an eye out for chests that can spawn in the cells for some extra loot as you clear. You'll likely be dealing with constant pulls of 2 to 3. At 28, they shouldn't hit hard, as most of them are level 23, but they can disarm, so the trick here is either CCing them or doing your best to tab sunder all of them to keep them on you. It's a great idea to start marking targets here so the group can focus fire and make it easier for you to hold threat on the different targets. Throughout Stockades, the only thing that's really deadly here is the fleeing mechanic. You should be well beyond familiar with it at this point in the guide, but it's particularly deadly in these close quarters dungeons. So make sure you are positioning yourself to make mobs flee favorably to you and spam Piercing Howl on them when they get low HP. Once you hit the T-junction, the room immediately in front of you should house the orc Targor the Dread for the quest What Comes Around. When you pull him, he's just a mini-boss. He'll likely come with 1 ad or 2. You should CC them or focus Targor down first. He hits pretty hard and does a knockdown, but aside from that, there aren't any really special mechanics to him. After that, we have the options to go left and right. Ideally, start by clearing right for the more important quest, the Stockade Riots. Down the right path, you should start encountering the Defias Convicts and Insurgents, which we need 8 of to complete the quest Quell the Uprising. So as you clear down the hallway here, be sure to clear into the cells for chests and extra kills on the mobs to complete Quell the Uprising. In addition, in one of the side rooms, you will find the dwarf for the quest The Fury Runs Deep. This is a quest that is gotten from Wetlands by completing some elite quests in Dun Mordur, which we did not do, but if you'd like to do it, you can get that beforehand. I recommend against it because the level's a little wonky. It's a level 34 elite quest that sends you here to kill a level 28 elite. the end of the hall, you'll find yourself in a large room with 3 side rooms, and in the middle will be an ogre with 2 adds. It's a 3-man pull, and the ogre is beefy, but any form of CC will make it easier. Just make sure to hold aggro and you should make it out okay. Use hamstring and piercing howl to kite the mobs if your HP gets low or your healer runs out of mana. In any one of these rooms can spawn Basil Thread, but the side rooms contain the mobs you need to finish off Quell the Uprising. In addition to this, Basil Thread will also run to the side rooms potentially during the fight, so the best approach is to clear the side rooms beforehand to finish the quests before pulling Basil Thread. When you do pull him, he acts as a bit of a rogue mob. He hits pretty damn hard and he usually comes with 1 or 2 adds, so you should of course see them, but he himself doesn't do anything particularly noteworthy. Just disarm him and you should be able to kill him. When he gets low HP, he will try to flee, so be aware from that and try to slow him to stop him from getting too far away. Once he's dead, make sure you loot his head, and then we will start with the western path on the opposite end of the dungeon. On this path, you'll find more prisoners that'll help you finish the quest Quell the Uprising, but you may consider skipping these side rooms now, as it's likely Quell the Uprising will be done, unless you need more wool bandanas for your group to finish the quest The Color of Blood. You should also clear the rooms if you find any chests in them, and additionally there is a chance for a rare spawn to appear in these prison cells, so keep an eye out for an NPC named Bruegel Iron Knuckle, and obviously kill him if he's up for a nice fist weapon. When you get to the final large room on the western end, you should find Dextrin Ward in any of the 3 rooms here. His spawn is random, so poke your head into all 3 until you spot him. Now Dextrin Ward has a large AoE fear ability that has a good chance to fear your group into the side rooms, so the quickest way to deal with Dextrin Ward is to clear one of the prison cell rooms out back in the hallway, then pull Dextrin Ward back to that room. Kill any adds that pull with him or CC them, and then kill Dextrin Ward inside one of the side rooms where the fear doesn't have much effect on your group. All in all, he shouldn't pose much threat and you should be able to dispatch of him quickly. With that, you are done with the Stockades. It's pretty easy. The next task you need to do is kinda hard though, the follow-up quest, so first thing you should do is try to stay in your group when the dungeon is done. Anyone in your party that is above level 28 can do the final parts of the Stockade Riots quest, and the last part is pretty tough, so it's easier to pair up for it. So head out of the dungeon and turn in the 2 quests outside, Quell the Uprising and the Stockade Riots, and accept the follow-up, The Curious Visitor. The Curious Visitor will send you to the Cathedral District to Baros Alexton, and from him you'll get the follow-up Shadow of the Past that sends you to Matthias Shaw in the barracks. Following that, he'll send you to Elling Trias. He hangs out in the cheese shop in the trade district. And then lastly, you are sent to Stormwind Keep, to the garden outside the library, to turn in at Tyrion for the quest Items of Some Consequence. For this quest, he wants 3 silk cloth, which you should have held onto from Stockades, and 2 fresh apples from Clara, who is conveniently in the farm outside of Stormwind. So trek on south through the Stormwind gates to Clara's house and loot the apples from the bowl off her table. The apples have a bit of a rough respawn timer of about 5 minutes, so if you are doing this in a group, you may be waiting around a bit for everyone to get her apples, and if they aren't up, it means you'll have to wait for the respawn. Once you get the apples, head back to Tyrion in the keep and make sure your Retaliate is up and not on cooldown if you are doing this next part solo. When you turn in the quest to Tyrion, a strange escort will begin where you'll need to wait for 2 NPCs to enter the garden, talk to each other, and then they'll become hostile. They are higher level and hit very hard, and there are numerous tactics to deal with them. A popular tactic used to be to wave at the nearby guards as they try to leave to stop them from leaving. I'm not sure if that's going to work though, and there is an additional threat that if the guards do too much damage, you will not get kill credit on the mobs. So firstly, if you are in a group, this is just easy going, but if you are here by yourself, you'll need to pop big cooldowns and try to focus one of them down. Use Intimidating Shout, then Hamstring Kite and Bandage the other. If you get them below half HP but it's looking pretty rough, you can try to pull them towards some of the guards and let the guards finish them off. As long as you've done at least half of their HP and damage, you should still get credit for the quest. but just be aware that this quest is very hard at level 28, so you have to put on your big boy pants. Once they go down, make sure to loot the head and turn in the attack, which sends you to more running back to the cheese shop. Then you'll be sent back to the Matthias Shaw. Then you'll be sent to Barros Alexston again in the Cathedral District for the final quest, an audience with the king, which turns in inside the keep. When you turn in this last quest, you'll get an enormous chunk of experience and the Seal of Rin, a blue ring that will last you well into your upper level 40s, so all that running around was definitely worth it. Make sure you also turn in the Color of Blood within Stormwind, and fly to Lakeshire and Duskwood to turn in the other 2 quests as you return to the rest of the 1 to 60 Alliance leveling guide whenever you left off and found your Stockades group. But that's it for this quickie dungeon. I'll see you in the next part. Until then, I am booping out.